Okay, so barking dog background, check. Yep. We're going to pour some resin into this mold and hopefully get a cool result. So this is Easy Flow 120. It's mixed by weight or volume, equal parts. So clear our scale with the cup on the scale, and we're going to pour in 50 grams. Okay, we want this to be a pretty color, so we're going to go with some black because black is pretty. We're just going to put a little bit in, a couple dots. Part B, very important to actually get the right parts. Another 50 grams. Get that lid so we can catch the last little bit. And this stuff goes off quick. A couple minutes pot life. Oh yeah, a couple dots. About all it needed. Mix this up good, scrape the sides and the bottom. And you get a nice even consistency. Already getting hot, so it's already starting to work. Pour it down the hole. And now is where we make a giant mess, because we have to get it to coat everything inside. And this is a skull mold. This is a special skull mold. The important part on this one is going to be to get as much of the teeth done in the first pour as possible, so that we have very few air bubbles. And I'm holding it over that because that happens, which is a good thing, because that means we've covered the bottom fairly well. And we can pour that back in. It's not much. But it'll help. And again, we're trying to get it up into the teeth so that we don't end up with a bunch of air bubbles where there should be teeth. And like I said, this stuff works pretty quick. Cures white normally, so I'm guessing with this black that I put in, it's probably going to come out gray. And I'm fine with that. And I'm just holding it here so that it all settles into the teeth, which wasn't very much for the size of this mold. Rolling it around. And this stuff's already to the point that it's barely moving. Alright. Now we wait. Just realized I left the lid off with the silicone pigment. This will be the first pour in this mold. It's just gonna be dirty. It's gonna have little bits of clay that I couldn't get cleaned out, stuck into it. But it'll give me a good idea of what the mold will do. Hopefully it works. And it sounds like my wife is in the house getting caught up on last season's The Walking Dead. She missed the last episode. Told her a tiger ate Daryl. So when she sees the tiger, she's gonna expect Daryl to die. You can see now on the stir stick, stuff is very tacky. So it's not long before it actually kicks off. And this resin, the Easy Flow 120, it actually kicks off from the thickest part to the thinnest. So the thicker it is, the quicker it'll actually kick off. The heat that builds up makes it work. So it's hardened to the point now that it just leaves a fingerprint. So it's pretty close to kicked off. For that first one, we only did a total of 100 grams. The second coat probably go in for 150 to 200. The mold will be hot from the previous one already. Doing that, it'll set a lot quicker because the heat will activate it sooner. So we won't have as much time to move it around. So we'll concentrate on the second one even more on getting the face full, the face of the skull. And then with the final coat, we'll go for coating everything to an even thickness in the back so that the top and back of the skull holds out. But you can see on the stick, it's starting to get a light gray. So it is definitely kicking off. And this tells me that a couple more drops of black would probably get it a lot darker in color. But she's getting there. Looking at it on the skull, the thin parts are already gray because there's so much heat. I can actually feel it through these gloves coming out. So this is ready for another round. The cup is still sticky inside, but it doesn't have nearly as much heat as the inside of that mold does. Yeah, it's actually warm to the touch. It's not hot, it won't burn you, but it's definitely warm to the touch. All right, let's make a bigger mess. Let's go for round two. Cut off a little bit of this junk. I'm poor, so I'm reusing. Probably not necessarily the best idea, but do as I say, not as I do. So we're gonna bump that skull out of the way. Got our color here ready to go in. We did 2 drops last time. We're gonna go, we did 100 grams total last time. We're gonna go 150 this time. Make sure to do part A first. 75 grams. 1, 2, 3, 4, and we'll call that last one 5. Mix that in a little bit. All right, might have missed a little bit of that. Camera problems. But this stuff, we can't wait for technology. So, slosh. Get it to pour back out. Doing that, make sure that it's covering the bottom of the mold. Pour it back in. And yeah, this stuff is much hotter than it was the first round. So we're coating the front. We're going to focus on that. And looking inside it, it is already super thick consistency because of the heat. So we are going to focus on getting this into the front. And I'm sure some of you have guessed from the shape of this skull what it is, or from the shape of the outside mold. And that's fine. It'll still be fun pulling this out of here for the first time. You'll get to see if it works. It might not. I'm gonna be really sad if it doesn't. It's not a good time for your face to itch. These little drips that run out are a really good way to tell when it's done, because they're not nearly as hot as the inside of the mold, so they will kick off last, which means when they're done, everything's done. Alright, we're gonna see if we can prop this bad boy up on my messy table. And we'll let all that sink down into the teeth. And then the next coat, we'll probably do another 150, and we'll focus on trying to coat the back really well. But the mold is gonna be so hot then that this stuff is gonna kick off super quick. So we won't have much time. It's already super gooey. You can see in the cup it's already starting to turn gray in the bottom where we just cleaned it out. I don't know if the lighting's good enough that you can tell, but it's already starting to kick off in the thick spots. And this resin normally, like I said, comes out white. That's a regular skull that I made out of the other mold. First mold I ever made. Pretty happy with that. I didn't video it because I figured it was going to be a massive failure. I've at least had a success now, so if this does fail, I don't feel so bad. Yeah, the bottom of this cup is quite warm. And even in thin bits, this resin seems to be pretty stout, so it doesn't take a lot to make this super strong. If I wanted to, at the end of it, after I've coated it all, I could put an expanding foam in to make it even more rigid. I don't have any, but I could if I had it. Alright, so we're starting to see it get a little gray in the thicker spots there. This feels like it's actually starting to cool back off some, so this is about kicked off. What little bits on the end of it is barely sticky enough to stick, and it didn't even stick to the glove. And you might be able to tell there that has turned gray and is almost to the point of being solid. So most of that inside should be cured by now because it's so thick and so warm in there. I'm worried about this mold. This little section right here, worried about it. All right, so we got pretty even gray on all of this. Still slightly sticky on the runny bit, so we'll give it just another moment. That should be enough to finish it out. And like I said, we'll go for another 150 grams. We'll only put a couple drops of color in this one because this will be under the other layers, so it won't really matter that much. Now we might have a little bit of variation in colors in this, where we did the 2 drops and the 100 grams to start, and then the 4 to 5 in the 150 grams. But looking at this, it looks like it's a fairly even gray, so maybe not. Yeah, so the parts closest to it, they're still pliable, but they are basically solid. Our cup is done for until it cures, and then we can clean it out. New cup. Color ready. Part A. $75. Went ahead and went for it. Put 5 in this one as well. Mix it up a little bit. Part B. Restart our scale so it doesn't stop in the middle of us. 75. I don't know exactly how important it is to be within the gram. I have no idea, but I try to get it there. This one's gonna kick off really quick in there because that mold, all the silicone's warm, everything's warm in there. Cup's already getting hot. We got good even color. So, pour it in like there's no tomorrow. Dribble a little around the edge, just to help coat that flange. And then we're gonna pour it right back out, and right back in, just to coat that flange. Where this is hot, it's already getting gummy. So we shouldn't have any issues out of flowing it into the spots as long as we work quickly. Again, kind of pouring some of it on that flange so that we're just getting it thick going back in. This cup's already getting really warm. And you can see how syrupy it's getting even out here in the cup, so it is definitely kicking off. Yeah, it's almost too thick to even run back out of the cup now. So just pouring it on the flange so that it runs back in. Trying to coat the inside really well. It is thick in there. I actually see a spot where I can see silicone, but I think it's too thick to pour. So we might have to get one more coat. Let's go with me enough, or hoping that this goblet's go with me enough that I can build up a little dam there, because right back in here, there's a thin spot I could see. So I'll end up making up another batch, probably only 100 grams, and really focusing on getting the bottom covered well. I'm pretty sure the rest is covered quite well. I just realized that my strap came off, which at this point, most of that has got its shape, so it isn't really a problem. And that strap isn't putting really much of any pressure on there at all. And you can see that that big black glob there is already just about set. where even what's in the cup is almost set. Which means that this over here, we can probably chip out. It's still a little too pliable for that. That's very, very warm. And you can see the stuff that's dried from last time. That's already almost as hard as it'll get. As it cools off, it won't be as pliable. Yeah, you can see that most of this stuff, even the thin stuff, is almost completely set. So inside there, yeah, we're good to go. We'll go back to this cup. Reduce, reuse, recycle, right? Okay, we ended up going 52. Clear the scale. 52. Running it down the sides of the inside just to go ahead and start coating it. Because we're about to pour it all right back out. Notice how little poured out where it's already getting warm in there. It's a big old mess right there. Don't worry about it later. Flip it over, let it run back in, flip it over, let it run out. Just coating the bottom. And it's so gummy right now that it's running out about like tar. And I can feel the heat coming through the plaster, through the silicone at this point. All right, we're gonna prop it up and let it sit. Might get a little bit of a drip come out the bottom, but the bottom of it is what needs to be really covered at this point, so that's a-okay. Now we wait. Alrighty, so this has been sitting for 2 pieces just pop apart. And that lets the silicone take its shape. And I'm pretty sure you can guess, or a lot of you can guess what it is now, but this is a 2-piece silicone mold. Hopefully it worked. That's all I can say. Hopefully it worked. A little bit of a flange there, not a major deal. Trim some of this away so that we can peel it out. And where it's still a little warm, it's still kind of pliable. I'm just using the scissors to pry it up. Thicker spots are a little hard to tear by hand. Oh, that's kind of cool where it's the different colors from the different color resin. It's a little soft right there, so it's a little thin, and you can see how dark it is in that spot. It looks like I might need to repair a little spot in this one and this screw. It didn't quite come out. And just push it past the flanges that it made from the seams. And this silicone is extremely flexible. Alright, there's the bottom loose. Looks like we covered everything. Like I said, it's a little soft spot right there. Those are pretty hard. I might mix up a tiny little bit of resin and just let it pool in the back. But we pluck the eyes out, the nose. Alright, so you can see we got a little thin in the eye there. It's no biggie, but my first Frankenstein's monster, complete with casting flange. But we can clean that up. Oh, I keep saying we. You guys aren't helping me. But yeah, this will clean up. We'll cut that piece loose. And I believe we're good. That spot I was worried about, you can see it raised up a little bit. It's probably not enough to really be a problem because it's good up through here, but I'll probably add a little bit more silicone to that section of the mold. So I did it on that side. Probably add just a little bit more there to thicken it up so it grabs in to the other bit of the mold a little better. But overall, pretty happy with it. And it looks like the sculpting turned out how I wanted. Textures are slightly different, but yeah, turned out pretty good. Just gotta fix that little spot in that screw. Maybe it might be a little bit of a bubble in the other one too. Other than that, it turned out pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. So there you go. One Frankenstein's monster skull. Just gotta do the jaw next. The top of this is really solid. That one little soft spot. All right. Thanks for watching.